Welcome, everybody, to the Redzone Report right here on the Built in Buffalo YouTube, Facebook, and X channels. I am your host, Izzy, and we are here to discuss the Buffalo Bills' next era. The next era begins. New coaching staff. The Bills are rebuilding the coaching staff. And guess what, guys? We're here to talk about it. So let's talk about it. Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Izzy, right here on the Built in Buffalo YouTube, X, and Facebook channel. Again, I am your host of the Redzone Report. And before we get going, I'm going to go ahead and put this QR code here. This is to the Built in Buffalo store where you can get some merch. We have some pretty awesome sweaters and t-shirts. And so check it out. Give it a go. If you like something, purchase. We have merch. We've had merch, but now I'm gonna jump in the game and start pushing a little bit. Let's go. Now, to the topic at hand. New era begins. The new coaching staff. The Buffalo Bills are starting a lot of stuff new this year, ladies and gentlemen. New coaching staff, new stadium, and probably quite a bit of a new roster. I see you in the comments already, Sandra L. King, on Facebook and on YouTube. Appreciate the views. We have quite a bit to talk about. Now, I'm going to start off with the obvious. The Buffalo Bills have promoted offensive coordinator Joe Brady from in-house to be our new head coach. Now, there are suspicions that it's a Josh Allen hire and he had the final say in it, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. It's not really for me to say. But I didn't necessarily like the hire at first, but I do now that I see the direction that the coaching staff is taking. Now, Joe Brady has coached Josh Allen for 2.5 years. He took over in the Ken Dorsey offense, 2 years, what was it? This year and the year before, he was full head coach, full OC. In the year before that, so 2023, he took over for Ken Dorsey and basically ran his playbook, Ken Dorsey's playbook. Then 2024, he took over and implemented his own offense, and it's been pretty good. 30 points a game almost. In both seasons, Josh Allen been more efficient, less turnovers by Josh Allen. The run game has exploded. We have, Josh Allen won his first MVP last year. James Cook won his first rushing title this year and is an MVP candidate this year. But a lot has been said about Joe Brady and him moving on to be the head coach. And it might have been, they didn't want to lose Joe Brady to another team, by signing another head coach who is probably going to bring in his own personnel. So what they do, they interview, I think it was 9 candidates, including Phillip Rivers, including Brian Dable, including Grant Udinski, and a slew of other guys. And I think that Grant Udinski was probably the favorite among Bills fans. Bills fans really liked the idea of Grant Udinski, even though he's never called plays before, and would probably implement his own offense and would hire a play caller. That means that the offense and the defense would both be very, very different. And I think most Bills fans and most fans in general will say that the offense in Buffalo hasn't really been much of the problem outside of wide receiver. Obviously, wide receiver has been kind of a concern. But they decided that Joe Brady is the best candidate to be the next Buffalo Bills head coach, meaning that the offense would stay largely the same, and it may see some more aggressiveness. Sean McDermott, people have accused of being conservative. I don't know if I agree with that. He can be at times, but for the most part, I'd say Sean McDermott can be quite aggressive and, decisive at times. But then other times he'll fall into a conservative shell and not really do things to attack, but more to be safe. And I don't know if that's the best, plan of action as a head coach. And it hadn't really worked for us getting over the hump and into the Super Bowl. So what did they do? They made a big time decision to fire Sean McDermott, and then they made another big time decision to hire Joe Brady from within. Let's see, we got some comments over here. Sandra King, good evening. Izzy, Sandra's always here. Appreciate it. My man John Robert, Jim Leonard could be good for the Bills defense. We have to wait and see. Yeah, I agree. That's one of the things I really like about this new coaching staff is Jim Leonard. It was him, Jim Schwartz, and Raheem Morris that I was really looking at for defensive coordinator. And we will get into the people we brought in so far. So it was the right move. The only other candidates were Dable and Udinski. Hard pass on both. I agree. Dable, his time with the Giants, and then the way he handled Jackson Dart last year really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And yeah, it's been a problem. AFC East Roundtable guy. Yes, I do jump on the AFC East Roundtable from time to time. Those are my boys. Dan Mitchell is my guy. I've actually met him in person. Me and him watched the Jets game together a few years ago, and then I met him again, I believe, in Jacksonville for a Bills Jags game that we lost. But yeah, Dan Mitchell is my boy. Much love to him, and yeah, I do participate in their Patreon segments. So yeah, I honestly thought it would be Clint Kubiak as head coach. Was what I thought, but I was wrong. I thought that they might wait for him if he lost the NFC Championship game, but once they won that game, I don't think that they wanted to wait. And Joe Brady was the guy who was, a big ticket guy. The Raiders had him in for interviews twice, and so you risk losing him and then also not getting Kubiak. Now Kubiak's headed to the Raiders, but he also had the Cardinals job that he could have gone to. I think the Bills job is much more enticing than both of those jobs, obviously. And the Bills chose Brady. And so I think they chose familiarity on offense to keep their quarterback happy and their running game sustained. And then they decided that he's going to be able to hire, the defensive staff, and basically they gutted the coaching room. If I'm reading things right, I think that they may keep one or two of the coaches that were currently on staff, but I'm not sure. But yeah, the defense is complete overhaul on that side for sure. They may keep guys like Rob Boris, and there's one guy who coached with him like since LSU, so or I think actually since the Saints when he was there with Drew Brees. Let's see, who do you think will be the DB's coach? So as of right now, you're making me rush through this a little bit now. As of right now, the Bills are targeting somebody, and that is the co-defensive coordinator, Jay Valai from Oklahoma. If you look up, just on Google, Buffalo Bills, DB coach, it pulls up Jim Leonard as the defensive coordinator, and then it also pulls up Jay Valai as a target. So we'll see what happens. Oklahoma had one of the best secondaries in college football this past year, and if you're going to target somebody from college, they better be, top 10 to be on your coaching staff. And this guy was a, co-defensive coordinator. He was the passing side of the ball. So let's go. Let's see what happens. Now, Joe Brady has decided to bring in some familiarity. For his offensive coordinator, he's brought in Pete Carmichael, right? Pete Carmichael was with him and with Sean Payton in freaking New Orleans. And Pete Carmichael has been with Sean Payton for a long time. He's coached some offenses that weren't very good because of personnel, and he's also coached some offenses that were really good due to good personnel. He hasn't called plays, and he's not going to in Buffalo. Joe Brady's already said that he's going to be the play caller, but Pete Carmichael was part of that Drew Brees era, and then also I believe he just came from Denver, so part of the helping of the growth of Bo Nix. So you bring in Pete Carmichael to help coordinate, since you know he can, and then you're the play caller. That's what Joe Brady's going to do. He's going to call plays while Pete Carmichael basically gets offensive game plans and personnel set up. Pete Carmichael is a good hire in my opinion, just because he knows the system already. There's not going to be any new verbiage coming in. There's not going to be any new changes, but the Buffalo Bills are going to have familiarity within the language and the play style. So the offense is basically going to be the same style, but I see it being more aggressive. Joe Brady likes to be aggressive, and I think he may have been handcuffed a little bit by Sean McDermott, which would explain why we ran the ball so much and why we ran it as effectively as we did. That and the fact that we had Aaron Kromer as our offensive line coach. He has since retired. So once the season ended, Aaron Kromer decided that his time coaching football was done, and he's going to go spend time with his family. And, wish you nothing but the best in the remainder of your life, Coach. If he comes back to football, I wouldn't mind seeing him back in Buffalo because he's one hell of an offensive line coach. And there may be some changes on this offensive line too. The offensive line, we have a couple free agents out there with David Edwards and Connor McGovern hitting the market, and they're both, according to Spot Track, fairly expensive hires. Like, according to Spot Track, which I already have pulled up, if I go to offensive linemen and I go market value sorting, David Edwards is the second most expensive offensive lineman out there with a market value of $19 million, almost 20 is 19.908. And then Connor McGovern is fourth at 16.274. So those guys are looking to potentially cash in if Spot Track is correct. Now, they're not always correct with their valuation like that, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, love the dog in the background. That is my sweet baby girl, Luna. Lunatic. Love you. She's a good girl. Any candidates for wide receiver coach you can think of off the top of your head? Ooh. I would love to see him bring back Chad Hall, but I think he's already signed somewhere else. Chad Hall, he coached up John Brown and Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. And like when the Bills offense was pass heavy, he was, a guy. He's still with the Giants. So he retains John Harbaugh retains Chad Hall as Giants receivers coach. He's done a fairly good job with the Giants as well, but he's going to be there. Other than that, no, I don't really have any ideas for the wide receivers coaches, because I'd have to be someone who looked at like assistant wide receivers coaches or like the firings, and that's a lot. That's a lot. Like I love football, but I'm not watching every single team's firings and stuff. It's a thing. See, let's go. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you too, Bobby. Welcome back. John Robert, Pat Myers is taking Aaron Kromer's job. Look, man, I already had the thing for that. Boom. Pat Myers signed as offensive line coach. He actually has coached under Aaron Kromer in the past. He is a disciple of Aaron Kromer. He last year with the Steelers, which kind of a dumpster fire with everything that happened there. They made the playoffs, but let's be real here, they weren't a very good team. They were in a weak division. They were the only team in that division to make the playoffs at 9-8, and they had Aaron Rodgers, and they did fairly well protecting him. They were one of the top teams when it came to protecting the quarterback. Now, running the ball, they were not as good, but their offensive line was built there basically to protect Aaron Rodgers, or whoever their quarterback is, because it was built, year or two prior to that when they brought in Isaac Seumalo and all those guys, and now he's coming to Buffalo with the personnel we have. And we have some very young guys in Alec Anderson and Cedric Grampang-Granger who are looking to potentially take over at center and left guard. But we still have our bookend tackles, Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown. And we still have Osiris Torrance at right guard. And these guys have all practiced together. They've been on the team for a couple of years now, Alec Anderson and Cedric Grampang-Granger. And so it could be them up. They could be the guys who are stepping up, because the Bills can make some cap space. I already did the exercise earlier. I've done some notes here. To make salary cap space, the Buffalo Bills, all they got to do is restructure Josh Allen, Deion Dawkins, You cut Taylor Rapp, Curtis Samuel, and Dwayne Carter, and then you trade Josh Palmer, and they're at like $25 million over, under the cap. So I can see the Bills making all those moves, maybe a couple more, and then they'll be cap compliant. I mean, they could just restructure Josh Allen and become cap compliant, just like that. And so there's going to be some moves that are made, and there's a few more guys they can restructure if they really wanted to make cap space. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty exciting. It's gonna be pretty exciting. But the offensive line coach has got me pretty excited too. I love the fact that Joe Brady's going after experienced coaches on the offensive side of the ball to help him with that, because he is going to be a very inexperienced head coach. He's 36 years old. He's been an offensive coordinator for 2.5 years. He was a pass game coordinator at LSU when they had that greatest offense of all time in college football history. I mean, they had ponies at receiver though when he was there. They had, Jettas and Justin Jefferson. They had Jamar Chase. They had Terrace Marshall. They had Randy Moss's son. I forget his name. Thaddeus Moss, I think. They had a great offensive line. They had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who not so great at running back in the NFL, but definitely a good pass catching back. So I like what they're doing there, and getting Pat Myers as their O-line coach is really top shelf for me. See, David Edwards is weird because they value him at tackle, which he's almost never played. David Edwards has been a guard for us this whole time, man. He's only played guard for us. See, Chad Hall signed with the Giants, unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately. My man Jacob Spears. Izzy! Hey, buddy. How you doing? All right, I can see Josh helping, no problem. Yeah. Now, this offensive staff, really good for, James Cook, I believe, and also really good for Josh Allen. Now they have to go make the moves in free agency and or the draft, right? And the needs I have, free agency and draft, wide receiver, linebacker, edge, safety, and interior offensive line, right? Because let's say that we do go with Alec Anderson and Cedric Van Pank-Granger, we still have to replace them as backups, right? If they're moving on to start, then they have to have backups replace them, right? And I don't think we have anybody on the team, signed to any futures deals who I'm like, yeah, they need to make the 53. We need to have competition for them, and if we have competition for them, that competition can also back them up. We need new guys. Let's see. Spot Track values Edwards as a tackle despite never playing. Do they? No, they have him as a guard. I have it on the screen right here. David Edwards, guard, age 28, 6 years in the NFL. Previous salary $3 million. Market value 19.908. Hey, he's a guard on here. And then Connor McGovern they have at center. Previous annual valuation 7.45 for his previous contract, and his next one 16.274. Yeah, I actually have the tab pulled up. See, I'm praying he gets Keon on point. You and me both. Whoever they bring in as wide receivers coach needs to be somebody who can help coach up Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman has the talent to be a solid number 2 wide receiver, maybe a number 1, but I think definitely a solid number 2. He's had his flashes, and there maybe it was just a rift between him and McDermott, and Coach Pagula's, or not Coach Pagula, wow, Mr. Pagula coming in and saying, hey, Brandon Beane wasn't really the guy who wanted Keon Coleman. The coaching staff really pushed for him, and then Joe Brady coming out saying, hey, yeah, I stood on the table for Keon Coleman. I wanted him. And then him signing Joe Brady as the head coach kind of makes sense, but also doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because it seemed like he was throwing McDermott under the bus for wanting Keon Coleman, even though he never directly said it. It was Sean McDermott. But then Joe Brady coming out saying, I was the one who wanted him, and I think I can do great things with him, makes sense because now you have the chance. So here's your shot, big guy. Go ahead and do what you can. This is your pick. Let's see what you got. So do you think they re-sign Brandon Cooks? I think that they may re-sign Brandon Cooks because I think that Curtis Samuel and Joshua Palmer are likely out of here. Unless they want to give Joshua Palmer another shot. He wasn't healthy all year. He was hurt in camp and then just never really recovered throughout the season. So he could get another shot here. And maybe they believe that they can do more with him. But I think that I would bring him back. He'd be a solid wide receiver 3 or 4. You have Khalil Shakir in your slot as your slot guaranteed. You have Keon Coleman, who they may use in the slot more. Then you go get Brandon Cooks, bring him back because he's not going to be very expensive. And then if you look at the wide receiver market, there's a bunch of interesting candidates at wide receiver that you could sign as free agents. Some of them quite expensive and some of them quite cheap. Like Wan'Dale Robinson from the Giants. The dude was targeted 131 times, had 92 receptions, over 1,000-yard receiving at 1,014. He only had four touchdowns though, and that's with his number one wide receiver being out and him becoming that number one guy, and with a rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart getting hurt, and then having Russell Wilson play some snaps for the first few games, Jackson Dart taking over, getting hurt, Jameis Winston going out there. The quarterback situation in New York was terrible. So like guys like Wan'Dale Robinson being out there, guys like Jalen Coker from the Panthers who really picked it up later in the year. He was not really a heavy influence on the offense early on in the season, but later on in the season, Bryce Young really took some shots at him, and he didn't let down. He was targeted 43 times. He caught 33 of those passes, so close to 75%, probably around 70%. The passer rating when targeted, 117.8 for Jalen Coker. So he's a guy they could bring in, probably as more like a wide receiver 4 or 5. Further down the depth chart, someone to take over that Gabe Davis role, because obviously Gabe Davis and Tyrell Shavers are probably not going to be available this coming season. Right? They got hurt way too late in this season, and they'll probably be out the remainder of the next season as well if we decide to retain Gabe Davis. If you look at our wide receiver room, as of right now, available to play come September, you have Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer, and Curtis Samuel. Everybody else is basically, broken. And so Gabe Davis being out for the year next year and Tyrell Shavers being out for the year next year, they're going to have to bring in some guys. And Jalen Coker, I believe, is a really good player who, with time, can see the field, and he's a good blocker. 6'3", 213 pounds. That kid can block. So Jalen Coker is a guy that's out there that I like. Tyquan Thornton for the Chiefs. 6'2", 185, so not much of a blocker, but he's probably more of a situational pass catcher. He had 275 pass snaps. He had 36 targets, 19 receptions. On those 19 receptions, 438 receiving yards. That is a ridiculous number. 23.1 yards per reception. Downfield threat right there. He's a speedster, more of a straight line guy. Receiving touchdowns, 3. So, yeah. Let's see. Brandon Cooks this year didn't have a great year. He didn't have any touchdowns, but most of his year was with the Saints, and then it took him, his first 4 or 5 weeks with the Bills to really get the offense and learn Josh Allen. And then in the playoffs, he started making splashes for us. I really liked what he did here. Then you look at some of the bigger names. You have Juwan Jennings from the Niners, who's 28 years old now. So I don't know if he's as much of a target. He had 643 yards, so I see him more in that Curtis Samuel, Joshua Palmer bucket. 88 targets, 55 receptions, freaking 643 yards, 9 touchdowns. So he did score touchdowns, but just his production just wasn't super great for me. And then the top 2 guys I like George Pickens' production. I don't necessarily like his attitude. Dude had 131 targets, 93 receptions, 1,429 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He did have 5 drops, so drops are still kind of an issue with him at times, but he is pretty sure-handed. And, when you're throwing the ball 131 and you only drop it 5 times, it's not bad. 15.4 yards per reception and a passer rating of 120 when they threw him the ball. He's a guy who, is on my radar, and he's only 24 years old. But the fact that he's been on, 2 teams and the Cowboys probably can't afford him, and his price tag is looking around $30 million a year, I don't see him being somebody the Bills look to bring in. But this guy right here, Alex Pierce, who I'm looking at, 6'3", 211 pounds, 25 years old, from the Colts. He was targeted 83 times, 47 receptions, with 1,003 yards on 47 catches. He had one drop all year. He had 6 touchdowns. He averaged 21.3 yards per reception. So he's like Tyquan Thornton in the type of receiver he is, but on a much better scale. Passer rating when targeted, 113.7. So those are receiver targets I look at in the free agency market. He looks about $20 million a year. So I don't know if he's somebody that the Bills are going to look to afford either. But Brandon Beane's a wizard at finagling the numbers and making them work. So we'll see. Definitely want to see Jimbo catch the ball at the backfield. I agree there. I want Jimbo to be more integrated in the passing game. Guess I was wrong. That's huge money for a guard. It is huge money for a guard, but he did have an excellent season. Like David Edwards had an excellent year. He's 28 years old too, so he's probably going to be looking to cash in and make that bread. So if he does, I wish him nothing but the best with his next team. He is in the second half of his NFL career. He's probably got 5-6 years left in the NFL. Guards usually play to about 35 is usually their ceiling. Some exceptions, but not a ton of them. I mean, this year PFF graded him as a 71.4. Pass blocking was 73 flat, and run blocking 69. He played 1,035 offensive snaps. 594 of them were pass block snaps. 441 were run snaps. He only committed 3 penalties and allowed 3 sacks. He allowed 1 hit on the QB that wasn't a sack, and then allowed 27 total pressures on the year. So he had himself an excellent year. See, I hope so. Josh really trusts him. Yeah. See, hopefully Michael Hoyt stays healthy. He can play linebacker also. So I'm going to get into the defensive personnel because we do have more coaches to talk about. But yeah, I mean, I'm really impressed by him. Yeah. See, is there any good wide receiver in free agency? Jacob, I'm glad you asked that because I already covered it. And you asked it probably before I started covering it, but I went into it and gave you guys about 7 or 8 names. See, Bobby Hoyt brought excitement to the team. He did. See, I heard some others talking about DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a guy who is potentially on the trade market. I don't know if he's number 1 anymore. I mean, he's not really in Chicago anymore. That's Rome Odunze, obviously, but he's probably still capable of being a number 1, and he still has the speed. But I don't know if I want to really trade for a wide receiver, because the price tag is going to be a first-round pick for guys like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and the top guys. It's going to be first-round picks, not a first-round pick, multiple first-round picks. Don't know if I want to go that route. Not to mention, you can't get Jamarcus Chase nor Justin Jefferson, most likely because of the dead cap hit they're going to cause their team. Justin Jefferson is like $72 million dead cap to the Vikings if they trade him pre-June 1, and he's like 40 or 50 post-June 1. So that's likely off the table unless they're looking to completely reset and eat that cap hit this year and then rebuild next year. See, I believe Big Game Gabe is done. He probably is done, unfortunately. I like Gabe as a person, and I like him as a wide receiver 4 on the team. Good blocking receiver, good, at picking up slants, and also good at getting behind the defense, but not a really big separator. I wish him the best. See, he was wrecking these 2 games he played. Yeah. Hoyt was a wrecking machine. See, DJ Moore is a lazy route runner, would not touch. I don't know if he's a lazy route runner, but, I don't watch the Bears much, and I don't watch the Panthers much. I watch the Bills a ton. If there's a good game on, I'll watch it. But if he's a lazy route runner, yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't touch him either. Keep that. I'm good to go. Now, back to the subject of coaching. We've been over the offensive staff. Now special team staff. Jeff Rogers, we signed. I believe he was with the Cardinals last. Their special teams unit was, middle of the pack. So this is not anything special. Pretty good special teams coordinator, but we had like one of the best special teams coordinators this past season, and now we have kind of a guy who had an average unit last year. Now, was that a personnel issue or was that a him issue? We don't know. We shall see. Do we still have Hoyt? Yes, we do. We still have Hoyt. He signed a 3-year deal, so we have him for the next 2 years. We have an out in his contract after this year, But if he goes out there and he dominates, he's going to get re-signed. He's going to get re-signed. Hoyt is still on the team, yes. Now moving on to the defense, and this is the big one, right? This may be even more important than Joe Brady being hired as the head coach and Pete Carmichael as the offensive coordinator, right? The defense is what's getting the change. And the defense is what Bills fans can unanimously say needed to change. Our defense has been excellent in the regular season, right? Like we had the number one pass defense this regular season. But when it comes to the playoffs, we're giving up 30 points a game. That is an issue. Right? You can't go from playing in the regular season and giving up 19 points a game to then the playoffs start, and all of a sudden you're giving up 30 points a game. Now, I understand and agree with the point that during the playoffs, we've had a lot of injuries. So, like the year where we had Terrell Bernard on the shelf, Matt Milano on the shelf, and freaking Tyrell Dodson was our only semi-healthy linebacker. And I mean semi-healthy literally. He was on the injury report. And if we had more linebackers, he probably doesn't play. But Balin Spector was also out. So we had to call up freaking A.J. Klein off the RV to come to Buffalo to play in the playoffs, and we lost that game. We gave up 30 points to the Chiefs. We can't keep doing that, right? There's the other year where Tre'Davious White got hurt, and Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace were our starting corners. That was the 13-second game, right? We need to have good depth, but we also need to have a defensive scheme that is aggressive and forces the hand of the offense to do something somewhat of a mistake. And the Buffalo Bills went out there and they signed Jim Leonhard to be their defensive coordinator. Now, Jim Leonhard, people, if you're old enough, were able to watch the Bills, understand the Bills, pay attention, and recognize that he was an undrafted rookie free agent from the University of Wisconsin, came to the Bills, took a starting job, was a really good safety for us. Then, when he was no longer on the team, played a couple other places, and started. When he retired, he became a coach. He then went on to coach at the University of Wisconsin as their defensive coordinator, where for 5 out of his 6 years, that defense dominated the Big Ten, which is Ohio State, Michigan, freaking who else is in that? Penn State. Some big programs are in the Big Ten. Some really, really big programs are in the Big Ten. And they dominated. They had linebackers like Lil Chenal. They had linebackers like dang. I'm brain farting on this list of linebackers. Wisconsin. Leo Chenal, Jack Sanborn, Nick Herbig. That's a big one right there. Like he had some really, really, really good linebackers. Noah Burks. He was an excellent coach for linebackers, and then I was going to come here and implement his new odd front defense because he's not going to run a 4-3. He does run a 4-2-5. Oddly enough, his base formation is a 3-4, but his sub package in nickel is a 3-4. He's a 3-4 guy. He was coached under Rex Ryan. He studied under Rex Ryan. And that's kind of the defense he's going to bring in. Now, I know Bills fans don't really see Rex Ryan that fondly as a coach, but as a defensive coordinator, when he was with the Ravens, they were an excellent defense. When he went to the Jets, that defense carried Mark Sanchez to 2 AFC championship games in a row. They did not win the division those years, but they went to the AFC championship 2 years straight. They lost, but that defense carried them. If you're sitting here believing that Mark Sanchez and that offense did, you're out of your mind, right? That Rex Ryan defense is nasty. Now, I see we need a stud nose tackle. I think we got one, right? Deion Walker was one of the most highly rated rookie tackles out of this draft class, who generally is a penetrator, is like 340 pounds, right? He's going to end up being that nose tackle. You need to go get another nose tackle to be a depth piece, but it's a thing. Right, Connor Piat. Do I think Joey Bosa will be re-signed? Possibly, very possible. We do need some edge depth, but if you look at the edges, right, because we're going to be running a 3-4 in base formation, I actually drew it out because I know more about 4-3 defenses than I do 3-4s, but I do understand conceptually how to run a 3-4. In a 3-4, Joey Bosa, I believe, played on the line on the end for the Chargers. He's been a hand in the dirt guy the whole time. Oh, no, I could be wrong about that because him and Khalil Mack were there, and Khalil Mack's always been kind of a off the ball edge rushing linebacker. So I could be wrong. I also don't know much about the Chargers, so neither here nor there. But he could be resigned, and I'm not sure where they'd play him. So I think that the Bills may not, but they could. Playoffs, too many turnovers and penalties. Too many turnovers indeed. Josh Allen in this playoff game against the Broncos, 4 turnovers by himself, and then James Cook with 1. We still put up 30 points. If Josh hits Dawson Knox on that touch that would have been touchdown pass, the game's over. We win. But Josh was out there playing with a broken foot, hurt fingers, and just overall beat up throughout the season. And a lot of it was from his own, of his own volition. He went out there, he held the ball too long, he didn't trust his receivers, and he had some guys get open that he just didn't throw the ball to. A lot of this season on offense, when we had woes, was Josh Allen being in his own head or just not trusting the weapons. And so that's a problem, and they should address that. But yeah, the turnovers really did us in. We had to climb out of a hole. We did. We got to overtime, and then what happened. See, what's up with Milano? Will he re-sign him? No, probably not. I don't think so. And he's my favorite defensive player on the Bills, right? Since he was drafted. I've said that many times in many of my shows. See, do you think Jimmy Charlo will be a good fit for the new 3-4? Jimmy Charlo could be, yeah, because he can play nickel and outside linebacker. He's not going to be a pass rusher per se, but he can rush the passer. He would be a guy you put out there in a big nickel as a big nickel, and just be a guy who's a rush guy. Basically what we would look at Jordan Hancock to be. What up, Izzy? Joseph A. Brereton Jr., welcome back. See, I hope they do, man. Hey, if they bring back Bosa, I wouldn't be mad, but the numbers have to make sense, right? They got to add up. Gerard Smith, or Scott, excuse me, is what's good, bro? How you doing, man? It's good to see you. I don't know if you go by Jerry or Gerard, but welcome back. I remember the name. I haven't seen you in a while, though. Thanks for being here. I heard he may join his brother. So if Joey Bosa goes to San Fran, good luck to him. Those guys get hurt over there. I don't know what it is, if it's the coaching staff or the health and wellness staff that they got there, but yeah. But if he goes to play with his brother, it was nice having you. So you love Rex for real. Sucks as a head coach. He does suck as a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator, you can't go wrong with Rex Ryan. See, I was the last year on his deal. He took a pay cut last season. I don't think he'll be back, but he was out there doing some things. You talking about Matt Milano? See, I like the offensive coordinator hiring. He worked with Sean Payton in New Orleans and helped Drew Brees win a Super Bowl. He can do the same for Josh Allen. Yeah. Now, Josh Allen is not Drew Brees. Drew Brees is not Josh Allen. They're two different quarterbacks. That's not the point. The point is greatness, right? Drew Brees was a great quarterback. Skills, you can't deny it. I remember hearing players talk about Drew Brees and comparing him to other great quarterbacks in the NFL like Cam Newton, who was great while he played. His career was shortened due to the injuries and the hits that he sustained. Don't take away Superman's cape and all that stuff that he would say. This person, I don't remember who it was, but they said the difference between a quarterback like Drew Brees and Cam Newton is they both can put the ball wherever they want. But when Cam Newton hits you with the ball, you catch the ball in self-defense, which I feel Josh Allen's more like that. But with Drew Brees, when he hits you with the ball, it's as if he ran up to you and handed it to you. It's like the touch on the ball is so different. Now, does that mean Drew Brees just doesn't have the cannon? Drew Brees could launch that ball pretty damn far. But it's just he knew how hard every time to throw the ball. He knew where to place the ball. He knew how to keep you in stride and how to take advantage of your momentum. And that's really, really key. Yeah, he's my favorite linebacker too. Yeah, he's been my favorite linebacker since he came in. I thought he should have been an All-Pro more than once. When Tremaine Edmonds was here, he really helped build up Tremaine Edmonds, and now Tremaine Edmonds is a dog in Chicago. So yeah, if Rex had JA-17, they would have went to the Super Bowl. That is a statement. That is a heavy statement. Because when Rex showed up here, he pissed off a lot of players. Mario Williams to be one of them. Like, you got Mario Williams dropping in coverage. He's like, what the hell are we doing? And having Mario Williams with his hand out of the dirt, standing, that's not Mario Williams' game. Mario Williams is an in the dirt guy. Mario was a 285-pound defensive lineman playing edge and being that athletic. If you put him on the line in 3-4, hand in the dirt as a defensive end still, he wreaks havoc. And Rex made some bad choices with the Bills. So, I mean, I get why Bills fans are salty towards him because the fact that he pissed off a lot of our guys. I mean, he definitely used Marcel Darius and Kyle Williams in the perfect way, and Jerry Hughes. And he's the one who discovered Lorenzo Alexander. Like, he did some really good things, but he also made some really questionable decisions. And that ultimately led to his downfall. Do you think the Bills will have the same backup QBs? None are signed. It depends on what Mitchell Trubisky wants to do. Now, I was watching a Joe Brady show earlier, or excuse me, Joe Marino show earlier, Locked On Bills. I do like Joe Marino. Some people don't really mess with him just because of his radio personality. He's got like a very radio, hey, how you doing? I'm Joe Marino, and some people just turned off by that on a video show. On a radio show, people really like that. I like Joe Marino. I think he's very insightful. He knows ball, and he does fish for views, and that doesn't bother me at all because the point is to get the views. But I think the guy knows what he's talking about for the most part. Man, we did have a good defense, but I think Jim was our DC. So we had a good defense, not under Rex Ryan. That was under Doug Marrone. So Doug Marrone was our head coach, and he hired Jim Schwartz. And we ran a wide 9-4-3 style defense where, Kyle Williams and Marcel Darius wreaked havoc. You had Lorenzo Alexander, Jerry Hughes on the outside. Like, that defense was nasty. It was. Jim Schwartz was a nasty defensive play. And then Rex Ryan came here and ruined our defense. Our defense was top 5 under Jim Schwartz. And then Rex Ryan took over, and that was it. See, that's the defense. Nick Bonito dropped a ton in coverage. Yeah, he did. And that's why I like the personnel that we have, kind of, right? Because Greg Rousseau played wide receiver. Greg Rousseau has dropped in coverage and can drop in coverage. You have a guy in Greg Rousseau who can do that and has done that. So let me break this down. In a 3-4 defense, you have 3 down linemen, usually big dudes, right? Usually the size of defensive tackles in a 4-3. So in a 4-3, you have your 2 big fat bastards in the middle, and you have 2 edge rushers. In a 3-4, you have 3 fat bastards in the middle and 2 edge rushers. Now, your fat bastards in the middle are not always like 300 pounds. Usually the nose tackle is 315 plus pounds, right? Big boys. And then your other guys are usually between like 280 and 315. 280, usually 283, 305, right? If you look at like the Eagles defense, they have some extra large 3-4 defensive linemen, which is possible and fine, right? When we did it with Kyle Williams and Marcel Darius, Kyle Williams was like 310 pounds and Marcel Darius was like 330. You have big boys. And so in the 3-4, you're going to have 3 guys like that, and you're going to have 2 edge rushers, right? So basically a 5-man front. Your edge rushers can blitz and fall in the coverage depending on what the play call is. Do you think they're going to be moving towards the weak side? Do you think they're moving to the strong side? So you have your strong side edge and your weak side edge. At linebacker, you have your Mike and your Jack, or your 2 interior linebackers, right? So you have 2 interior linebackers, 2 exterior linebackers. In this case, the edge rushers are no longer the defensive ends. They are the linebackers. In a 4-3, your defensive ends are your edge rushers, and your linebackers are generally speaking off the ball in coverage all the time and or blitzers. In a 3-4, your edge rushers, when they rush the passer, are not necessarily blitzing unless you're rushing both of them. So that being said, now that I've explained the front, the back end works basically the same as the 3-4. You have your 2 safeties, you have your 2 corners. If you're a nickel, you remove one linebacker or one offensive lineman and you shift. Now, the way Jim Leonard's defense ran in Denver, when they ran a 3-4 and they were in base because you were only running two wide receivers, or you were in 12 personnel or 21 personnel, so only two receivers out there, two running backs and one tight end, or two tight ends and one running back, your linebackers, generally speaking, covered the tight ends, and your wide receiver or your corners were covering the receivers, right? In this case, what the Broncos did, which is the system that Jim Leonard's coming from, the nose tackle would come out, right? So in the Buffalo Bills scheme, the nose tackle would likely be Deion Walker. Your edge rushers, or excuse me, your defensive ends, no longer edge rushers, but your two guys flanking Deion Walker, likely TJ Sanders and Ed Oliver for starters, right? We're probably going to have to gain on the defensive line. We'll probably carry more. Well, we're going to have to carry more. We'll probably carry 6 defensive tackles. What we call defensive tackles now as rotational defensive linemen. Your edge rushers are more likely going to be Michael Hoyt and Greg Rousseau, with rotations from Javon Solomon, possibly Dorian Williams, because he's definitely a good blitzer, not so great in coverage, but he can cover now, just not as good as other guys. And whoever they bring in, right? Because we don't have a ton of edge rushers right now on the team. If I pull up the Buffalo Bills roster, let's see. Sort by position. Joey Bosa is gone. We're going to say guys who are just on the roster. Epinesa is no longer under contract. So it's Greg Rousseau, Javon Solomon, Michael Hoyt, and is there anybody else? Let me see. No, that's it. All right, so we're going to have to acquire some talent at the edge, which I do have on my list. But Michael Hoyt, Javon Solomon, and Greg Rousseau, and then potentially linebacker Dorian Williams playing some edge out there. Linebackers are going to be obviously Terrell Bernard, who did come from a 3-4 scheme, if I recall correctly, from Baylor. Ran a 3-4, was a Mike in that system, so this would be perfect for him. You'd have now 3 fat boys in front of him to help open up rushing lanes for him to get through, instead of just 2, and then the ends. You'd have 3 more big guys there to help create havoc in the middle, and now Terrell Bernard will be free to rush easier. Joe Andreessen still on the team. Ben Spector, Dorian Williams, Milano's gone. This is actually good for Joe Andreessen too. He ran a 4.25 at UB, which we ran here in Buffalo. But if I remember correctly, I believe that they ran some 3-4 stuff at Bryant University where he started off. So this is more up his alley. So a lot of the personnel we have will fit just fine in the scheme. Cole Bishop is a guy who's really, really, really going to benefit from having Jim Leonard on his team. Kyle Williams was an effing legend. Yes, he was. He was a legend. He didn't put up like gaudy numbers for a defensive tackle, but he was a freaking dog, and teams had a game plan for him. And the fact that we drafted him in the 5th round of the same draft that we drafted John McCargo in the 1st round is insanity. At Bills fan 7883, welcome back, buddy. I'm guessing 7883 is your birthday. So July 8th, 83. Vance Joseph doesn't use a typical 0. He uses a 1 shade, which Walker can play. He also used 5 techs, which Oliver will fit. TJ Sanders, in theory, should fit as well. I think we're fine. I think we're fine, too, for starters, yes. But we're going to need some depth there now, especially with Ogunjobi no longer being with the team. Let's see who we have for D-line. Defensive tackles. Daquan Jones is out of here. Fedarian Mathis is out of here. Larry Ojogi is out of here. Ed Oliver, TJ Sanders, Deion Walker are the only 3 on the roster as of right now. And so, yeah. We have our 3 starters, and they're currently on the roster, but they're the only ones on the roster. So we're going to have to get some guys. Landon Jackson. I forgot about Landon Jackson. Let Let me see why he's not on here. Is there a different section for injured reserve? There sure is. Yeah. Okay. Uh, reserve injured. Dwayne Carter, another defensive tackle, is on the roster currently. I don't know if he's going to be good in the 3-4 or not, but we'll see. Um, Landon Jackson is out there on our is on our team still. Taylor Rapp, I don't see being with the team anymore, but he should be a fine fit as a strong safety in a 3-4. But he just didn't look the same this year. He looked scared and skittish. Ever since that Derrick Henry concussion, he has not looked the same. Yeah. On the practice squad, we do have Matthew Judon, but he's likely out of here. Shaq Lawson's likely out of here. Yeah, we don't really have anybody outside of Landon Jackson, who did get hurt fairly early in the season, so he should be ready to go this season. See, TB's days as Mike are done, in my opinion. He's a will in this new system, and we will either draft a middle linebacker early or throw money at a free agent middle linebacker Singleton from Denver. Also, remember Stranad is also a free agent too. Denver's got 2 inside linebackers. Now, I don't know if Bernard's days as Mike are done because he's more of a coverage guy than he is a rusher. And in the 3-4, he fits the Mike more than he does the will. The will. The will in his defense is technically a edge rusher, right? So you have your Will, you have your Sam, which are your 2 outside linebackers, and you have your Jack and you have your Mike. And your Jack linebacker, generally speaking, is the one who rushes more. Your Mike is the guy who's calling the plays and putting everybody in position and all that stuff, usually covering somebody. And that's more of Terrell Bernard's strength. So yeah, what is Dwayne Carter doing still in rehab? He is still in rehab, I think, but I'm not positive. I haven't heard much about him since the injuries, but we'll see what happens with him. I don't even know if he's on the team this year. He might be out of here. So, like, they may have seen enough, but then again, new coach, new defensive scheme, maybe a perfect fit. Especially as a rotational piece, because he's not going to start. Obviously, we have our 3 starters on the defensive line as of right now that I can tell. See, I think our defense will be better next year. It's hard to say. Because our defense throughout the regular season was very good against the pass, not so great against the run. Jim Leonard's going to bring an attacking 3-4 style defense, more blitzing, more simulated pressures, meaning your defensive end will drop into coverage while a linebacker rushes instead. There's going to be more versatility with who rushes. So simulated pressures are going to be a big thing within this 3-4 defense. And I do like the simulated pressures because then you don't know where it's coming from, right? You may rush, your 3 down linemen and then your Will, and then you may rush the 3 down linemen and your Sam, and then you may rush 2 of your down linemen and then both of your edges. It just really depends. It really depends. So this defense is going to be very multiple. It's not a basic 3-4. It's not a pin your ears back and go. It is a very diverse 3-4 defense, which is why when they drop into nickel and other packages, they remove the nose tackle and then keep their defensive ends in. So in this case, when they drop to 4-2-5, most likely, if it was just to remove the nose tackle, you'd see Deion Walker come off the field, TJ Sanders and Ed Oliver on the field, and then have your edge rushers, who were your outside linebackers, become defensive ends. So it's very multiple in that sense, to where the way your defensive scheme is set up will be technically a 4-3 on nickel downs when it comes to the schematically a 4-3, even though you're a nickel, so you're not in a 4-3 and a 4-2-5. But in base form, a 3-4. It's an odd way to do things. But again, all you're doing is removing that nose tackle, defensive ends pinch in, outside linebackers come out at the edge, usually still standing, but they could put their hand in there if they want to. Then your 2 linebackers are still your 2 linebackers, right? Your 2 interior linebackers then become your Will and your Mike, and then the rest of what's going on there. Now that right there is kind of what I think my man Bills fan 7883's point is here, because the Bills predominantly with Sean McDermott ran 4-2-5 almost exclusively. Now this past year we did go back into our shell 4-3 quite often whenever we saw 21, 12, 13 personnel. we did move back into our base formation, and the mic was still Terrell Bernard, and then Shaq Thompson when Terrell Bernard went down with the injury, Dorian Williams and Matt Milano. And Matt Milano definitely got better throughout the season, looked more like Matt Milano at the end. But I want to go back to this comment here because this could be where Bills fan 7883 is correct. If it's me, I go get Alex Singleton in free agency. He's not going to be super expensive, right? Let me see if I go to linebackers. If I go to linebacker and I go by market value, Devin Lloyd is the most expensive linebacker here, but Demario Davis is a free agent. He's going to be 38 years old, though. He's 37 now. He just recently turned 37. Quincy Williams from the Jets is out there. He's a guy who can play in a 3-4. Caden Ellis of the Falcons, who played in the 3-4 with Raheem Morris, and that defense for the Falcons was good. They were damn good. Devin Bush is out there. Quay Walker is trash. I don't like him at all. Nakobe Dean hurt too often. Bobby Wagner's intriguing. You can go get Bobby Wagner to play here. Levante Davis is a free agent, but he's a 4-3 guy, so I wouldn't go after him. He's more of a will guy. We have enough of those on the team. So Bobby Wagner is a guy who I think would fit. Let's see. Alex Singleton from the Broncos. He's 32 years old, so you'd basically bring him in on a 1 or 2 year deal. Leo Chenal from the Chiefs is a free agent this year. He's a guy who I really like, and he played at Wisconsin. Leo Chenal might be the guy to go after. I wanted him in the draft. Like, I wanted the Bills to draft Leo Chenal. If he hits the free agent market, the Buffalo Bills need to be like, Leo. And then when they sign him on my next show, I'm going to hit that Dr. Evil when they said that they owned a movie company and they had signed, actors like Leonardo DiCaprio. And he goes, Leo. That right there is me if we get Leo Chenal. Love me some Leo Chenal. I'll be right back. I get some water. I'm parked. Crack the bubbly. Oh, I still had some of that one. I'll just finish it. See, Caden Ellis is good. How old is he? Caden Ellis is... Where are you, Caden? He's 30. Other names on the list, Leo Chenal, Matt Milano, who we know we're not going to re-sign most likely. Landon Roberts is out there. Justin Stranad from the Denver Broncos as well. He's 29 years old, so he's younger than Alex Singleton. You can actually sign him to like a 3 or 4 year deal and use him. Christian Roseboom from the Panthers is out there. Jermaine Pratt, famously from the Bengals heavy-hitting defense from a few years ago, now an Indianapolis Colt. Devin White is out there. Jake Martin. Shaq Thompson. Not really fit in a 3-4, but I mean, he's such a brainiac. I think he could fit just about anywhere. Eric Kendricks, who came out, last second for the Niners and played very well in the playoffs. He'd be fairly inexpensive. See, Brian Asamoah from the Bengals. They haven't really panned out on defense, but ever since they fired Lou Anarumo, excuse me, their defense has not really been the same. Chaz Surratt of the Seahawks, he's 28 years old. He'll be 29 here soon. Isaiah Simmons, who, has not really panned out in the NFL. Yeah, I stay away from most of these guys. The guys I'd look at for the most part are guys like Devin White, Christian Roseboom, Leo Chenal, Alex Singleton, Stranad, Bobby Wagner, Quincy Williams, Caden Ellis, and if you want Demario Davis, who's still playing at a high level, 13 years in, and at 38 years old after this next coming season. He's 37 now. He just turned 37. I mean, you could bring one of those guys in for a 1 year deal if they're one of the older guys, or like Bobby Wagner and Demario Davis, or you could bring in one of the younger guys and then draft somebody to sit behind them. But I would personally rather look at linebacker in free agency and then draft a wide receiver than get a wide receiver in free agency because the position is more expensive. That's just the fact of the matter. Wide receiver money is way, way, way heavier than linebacker money. Like as of right now, Leo Chenal, who I love as a player, he was a Chief, and I hate the Chiefs, like all you guys do. But Leo Chenal, click again. He's 25 years old. Played at Wisconsin. His market value is 4.6 million annual salary. Right. If we go get an Alec Pierce at wide receiver, who is a number 2 receiver, right? You're looking at $20 million for Pierce a year versus less than 5, right about 5 for Leo Chenal. Give me the linebacker. How old is Bobby? Bobby Wagner's like 35, I think. Let me get back to that. I don't know why Spot Track is making me double click. What the hell's up with that? All right, B Wags. He's 35.6 years old, so he'll be 36 when the season starts. He's still playing at a high level. His market value is $7.684 million per season. So he's valued higher per season than Leo Chenal. But I love me some Leo Chenal, dude. I love me some Leo Chenal. Let me check out his production. And I hear people say Leo Chanel a lot. I don't know if that's the proper way to say it, but it's spelled Chenal, Chenal. Overall PFF grade 70.0, pass rush grade 56.9. He's not an edge rusher, so I don't care about that. Run defense grade 76.2. Sign me the hell up. Coverage grade 72.6. Sign me up, Leo Chenal. Pounding the table for you. Solo tackles 31, assists 14, 24 stops, 3 sacks, 4 missed tackles. Passer rating allowed 98.8. Total pressures 11. Yes. And he's 25. Sign me up. See, the Jack is rush linebacker. Nick Benito, Michael Hoyt for us probably. I don't think so. I have to look that up. Now you're going to have me look stuff up. Jack linebacker. Okay, you're right. Damn. Okay, so I had those two crossed in my. So I did mention earlier that I'm not as familiar with the 4-3. Okay, so the Will is the other interior linebacker. Okay, gotcha. So you got me there. I am willing to admit when I'm wrong. So the Jack linebacker is not what somebody like freaking Bernard would play. He'd play Will. Okay, so you would take away the green dot from him, and then bring in a Leo Chenal or someone like that to then play linebacker like that. Gotcha. Okay, I'm with you there because I would prefer Terrell Bernard to not be the Mike, but however, I also think I'd prefer for him not to be the Will either, because the Will of the 2 inside linebackers is most likely to rush. But it is what it is. Also, you're saying we don't have a Mike linebacker, in my opinion, but TB can play other inside linebacker spot. Okay, so you'd prefer for him to not be the guy calling the defense. You'd prefer for him to be the guy who does rush the passer more. I don't agree or disagree with that because I don't know what he looks like in that scheme on the professional level. So I'll just let you have this one because I don't know enough about that 3-4 defense to really have as much of a claim. I'm gonna be studying that a lot more this offseason, obviously, since we have a 3-4 defense being implemented now. So this gives me a chance to learn. Do you think there's any way we can work a trade for JJ? Not a chance in hell. Nope. And I almost don't want to. The money is going to be crazy. We're going to have to give up 2 first-round picks. And then on the Viking side, it's hell too because it's $72 million in dead cap. That's a lot of dead cap. Like, let me verify that because I know. See, NFC North, Minnesota Vikings. Manage roster. So Justin Jefferson, if they were to release him, $72.212 million dead cap. If they were to trade him for, so they could afford to do that, but they'd be taking on a 46.462 dead cap for him. And they are already $40 million over the cap. So I still don't think there's a chance in hell that happens. Their cap situation is just too bad. They're a terrible team right now, and they have no cap space. And they would have even less cap space if they got rid of him. So I don't think there's a chance in hell. Not this year. And honestly, I don't want him. And it's not because he's not good. He's definitely, either the best or the second best wide receiver in the NFL. So who wouldn't want that player? I would love that player. I don't want him because of everything that surrounds him. The amount of money, the injuries he's incurred. He's been in the league for now 6 years, and he's been injured quite a bit. Granted, a lot of that's because quarterback putting him in danger. I wouldn't want a used up guy. I want my own brand new rookie toy. Yeah, I want my own brand new thing. I mean, if you guys want, we can do a mock draft too. I mean, we're going over personnel here. Let me go over the 4-3 defense. A 4-3 defense, not a 4-3, 4-2-5, the nickel. If it's run the same way they did in Denver, that's right? Because I don't know if that's a Jim Leonard thing or if that was a Vance Joseph thing. Jim Leonard was not the defensive coordinator. He was the defensive passing game coordinator. So he may not run a 4-2-5. He may run a 3-3-5, which is understandable. You're looking at starting defensive line in that 4-2-5, Hoyt, Oliver, Deion Walker. I'd keep him in as a nose tackle just because you want a big body there. Greg Rousseau as you're starting the defensive line. Then Dorian Williams and Bernard at linebacker. This is only because they're the only ones on the team right now. Okay, so do not take this as I want these guys to start. The defensive line there, I do. The linebackers, don't take that as me wanting to be the starters. Take that as that's who's on the team right now. So that's who fills that spot. Corners, Christian Benford, Taron Johnson, and Hairston. Taron Johnson obviously has the nickel. And then safeties, Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp. And then if you go big nickel, it's likely why do I keep forgetting this guy's name? Jordan Hancock. The safety. Bigger hitters than Taron Johnson. But if they had Charlo on the roster, he could be that big nickel as well. He's played nickel. He's 225 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal, and that guy could be a guy you plug in at big nickel and wreak some havoc. Now, if they ran a 3-3-5, your 3-down linemen are going to be your 3-down linemen. Your edge rushers are going to be your edge rushers, and then you're going to have one linebacker in the middle with the nickel, and then 2 corners and 2 safeties. As of right now, the safeties are Bishop and Rapp, which I don't believe Rapp's going to be here. So he's just he's on the paper because he's currently on the roster. Okay, that's what the personnel look like on defense. As of right now, if we started today and this was our roster and this is our coaching staff, in base defense, Sanders, Walker, Oliver as the defensive line, edge rushers, Hoyt and Rousseau, linebackers, Dorian Williams, Terrell Bernard, safeties, Bishop and Rapp, corners, Benford and Hairston. 4-2-5, Hoyt, Oliver, Walker, Rousseau on the line, Williams and Bernard linebacker, Johnson at nickel, Hairston and Benford at corner, Bishop and Rapp at safety. That's what we'll be looking at with our current personnel. Could we make that work? Yes. Should we look to improve? Yes. Yes. Now, earlier did an exercise. I mentioned it earlier in the show where I went into SpotTrack's roster manager and I restructured Josh Allen, Deion Dawkins. I cut Taylor Rapp, Curtis Samuel, Dwayne Carter, and I traded Joshua Palmer and created a whole like $35 million in cap space. So we were at $25 million-ish. A little over $25 million in cap space. You go get yourself a Leo Chenal and then ball out. I'm going to take a quick bathroom break, guys. I will be right back. And we'll do a mock draft. Why the hell not? Might as well do a mock draft. And here we go. And I'm back. All right, let me see. Good night, fam. Is please tag next time you're on. Hey, I'm not done yet, man. If you're leaving because you're leaving and you can't say you got stuff to do, I understand. But if you think I'm leaving, I'm not leaving. I got to use the bathroom real quick. We'll do a mock draft real quick. If you can't be here, then don't. It's fine. I get it. We have money on here for more than an hour and 10 minutes, and so yeah. Who do you think will end up starting next to Bishop? So looking at our roster currently, I break things down by position again. Safety on the roster, we have Cole Bishop, Jordan Poyer, Darnell Savage. Jordan Poyer is probably not going to be back. I would like before we fired Sean McDermott and before hiring Jim Leonard, I would say Jordan Poyer comes back as a mentor to whatever rookie we draft or whatever to help fit the scheme. But the scheme is not that anymore. It's a totally new scheme. So Jim Leonard, former safety, will be the teacher. He will be the teacher, and he's going to unleash Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop is about to be a monster in the scheme. Just want to say that. Darnell Savage is the guy they could bring back. Taylor Rapp they could bring back. Let me see who's on the reserve. Did not report. Darius Slay, he's out of here anyway. Let's see. Corey Couch is a guy who could play, but I doubt he starts. Daryl Porter Jr., another guy. Let's see. DeMar Hamlin, they could bring back, but I don't see that happening. I mean, if they can't afford to bring somebody in, then maybe. Taylor Rapp is probably out of here. Yeah. Let me look at free agents real quick, and then we'll do this mock draft. So if I'm looking at free agency, and we go to safety, which is not a super expensive position for the most part. Sort them out by market value. Kobe Bryant, Brian Cook are out there. They're expensive. Cameron Curl is out there. He's expensive. Jaquan Brisker, he's expensive. Let's see. Guys I could see us bringing in like Geno Stone. If he hits the free agent market, Reed Blankenship from the Eagles is another guy I do like. Let's see. Nick Cross from the Colts I liked. Kyle Duggar is a free agent. He'd be more of an inbox safety, and that's kind of already what Jordan Poyer does. So yeah, I could see Kyle Duggar being a candidate. He'll be 30 this year. Let's see. Tony Jefferson of the Chargers is a guy I like. He's aggressive. He's aggressive. I like that. The Dolphins, Ifeatu Melifonwu will be a free agent. He's kind of had a weird career. I loved him coming out of Syracuse. Him and Andre Cisco, who's with the Jets. Those two guys are characters you can bring in here, and Jim Leonard can coach up, no problem. PJ Locke of the Broncos is another guy. He's probably the favorite. He'd probably want to follow Jim Leonard here from the Broncos. See, in my opinion, if we get a starting middle linebacker, a safety that can complement Bishop, legit threat at wide receiver, and figure out how to get Cook more involved in the pass game, we will be in the mix next season. I think we'll be in the mix next season either way. But yeah, those three positions are the key. Those are the most important ones that we need to address: is linebacker, wide receiver, and safety. Those three, because we have edge rushers, we just need more of them. Like I think we have our starters in Michael Hoyt and in Greg Rousseau. I also think we have a good backup in Javon Solomon. Javon Solomon is a 3-4 linebacker. When we drafted him, he had 16 sacks his last year at Troy. We drafted him in the 6th round, I believe it was, 6th or 7th, because he was still on the board And Brandon Beal was like, I just couldn't pass it up. Like he's going to play end for us with his hand in the dirt. But at Troy, he was an off the ball, not off the ball, but a pass rushing linebacker. He was not a pass rushing defensive end. He was not big enough for that. He was like 235 pounds, 240 pounds. He is a, rushing edge linebacker. So you have him, and then that's it. See, with the salary cap going up, I viewed a post that they can keep everyone and restructure a few. They could restructure Josh Allen and Deion Dawkins and then keep everybody I mentioned, but I don't think that they want to. I think that they're going to cut Taylor Rapp. This is the year they have an out in his contract. He's been hurt, and he's not been as good as he was his first 2 years here. Curtis Samuel, it just hasn't worked out. There's an out in his contract. Get him out of here. Dwayne Carter, he's been hurt the whole time. The best ability is availability, and we can't keep wasting money on somebody who's not available. So Dwayne Carter's out of here. And when he has been healthy and available, it hasn't looked good. And then Joshua Palmer, they may keep him. Like, he's a trade candidate, in my opinion. He's the out in his contract not until next year. So I think that he's one that could stay. But I got rid of all four of those guys and then did the restructures, and we had more than $25 million in cap room. And that would be more than enough to sign a Bobby Wagner and then a PJ Locke, and then to, maybe take a shot at a wide receiver. Unless you want to draft one. But in my opinion, we're getting rid of Curtis Samuel and Joshua Palmer. We're going to need at least two. See, Rapp has to be really good because his cap savings, as opposed to what he will make it hard not to cut him. Exactly. Rapp is he's going to be gone. Jordan Hancock, he is more of the slot corner, nickel corner. He's gonna be like a big nickel. So like whenever we take Taron Johnson off, but we still run nickel because they're more likely to run, or they're running maybe safe tight ends instead of three receivers. Right there. Denver has some good defensive players that are depth players and will probably be priced out of Denver's range, but would fit perfectly for us. Yes. Like PJ Locke, like Alex Singleton, like Stranad. Like, they have some guys, and we need those positions. So I'm talking. Me too. I'm with you there. Super Bowl mix. Let's go. Let's go to the damn Super Bowl. Let me close some of these tabs here so I can open up the NFL Draft Buzz website. And we are going to do mock drafts out the wazoo this offseason, guys. We're going to have some fun with them. Draft simulator. Let me. Boom. Share screen. Boom, 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 boom. At the stage, boom. Let's get rid of the sides here. See, what do you think about moving to a 3-4? Do you think Ed Oliver's done? No, Ed Oliver's definitely not done. He's going to be perfect for 5 technique. Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely not. Ed Oliver's going to be just fine in our new defense. All right, so we're going to move that one over here so that way it's not in the way. And NFL Mock Draft Simulator. 7 rounds with the Bills. Speed, we're going to go 25 seconds. We're going to use the standard Jimmy Johnson trade chart. And it's going to use their Draft Buzz rankings. All right. And with the draft, Buffalo Bills are selecting 26th in the first round, 60th in the second round, 91st in the third round, 122nd in the fourth round, 166 in the fifth round. We have 0 6-round picks, but we have 2 7th-rounders at 220 and 228. So let's look at the positions that we need. We have wide receiver. Carnell Tate has stated he would love to play with Josh Allen. You have Jordan Tyson, Arizona State, who is more of a slot guy. Mekhi Lemon from USC, who I do like, but if I remember correctly, he's also more of a slot guy. Yep, slot receiver. I actually drafted him in Madden. He's a dog. Then we have Denzel Boston, who I like, but 6'4", 209. I don't know if that weight is going to really complement that height, but good player, outside X receiver. And he's estimated to run a 4.52 40, so that's kind of a Gabe Davis type of guy, physicality-wise. This guy is my guy right here, Chris Bell, 6'2", 220 pounds. He's got kind of that Alshon Jeffrey. He's got that AJ Brown, that type of dog in him. 72 catches, 917 yards, 6 touchdowns. Dude's got really good hands and looks like he's going to run a 4.44 40-yard dash. So a 4.44 second 40-yard dash. That was way too many fours. And yeah, this guy right here is the guy that I really like. I really, really like Chris Bell. Now, if we go to linebacker, Anthony Hill Jr. is probably my guy. I really like him. Like if it's been him and Chris Bell, I go with the wide receiver because I think that the Bills will target a linebacker in free agency. But if we don't, Anthony Hill Jr., dog out of Texas, 238 pounds, 6'3", looking to run a 4.5, and he's a multi-role linebacker, so he can play, Mike or Jack, or not Jack, Mike or Will. I really do like that guy there too. Also, I believe it was Deontay Lawson from Bama. He 6'2", 228. He's a box linebacker. That guy I like there too. And there was another guy, I'm forgetting his name. See if I can remember when I see it. It's a little later in the draft, but nope, don't remember. Okay. And then the other one was safety. So you have Caleb Downs here. He's probably going to go pretty early. In our range, Colton Hood from Tennessee is a corner. So that's not really going to be what we're looking for. But Kamari Ramsey from USC, that's a guy I liked. And Dylan Theinman, man slot nickel safety. So that more of the Hancock kind of role. Scroll down a little bit more. AJ Halsey, how you say it, zone slot nickel safety. There's a lot of those coming out here more recently. Zone box strong safety. This guy right here is probably a guy who I don't know much about this guy at all, but the type of linebacker he is probably what we're looking for. Box safety to be a strong safety. That's gonna be a little harder to navigate, but hey, you know what? We're gonna sit here and we're gonna do our best. Let me see. Talking Super Bowl mix. See, I like Malachi Fields. I'm a Notre Dame fan, but if we drafted Xavier Watts last season, just saying. Hey, I'm with you there. Carnell may be gone before we pick. He might be, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Let me see. You said Carnell might be gone before we draft. I'm not seeing Carnell, but all right. So we're going to kick this bad boy off and start the draft. Let's go. And we're going to pause it at 10. It always sneaks one more in. Okay. So first overall pick, they got Fernando Mendoza. No surprise there. They got the Jets taking a defensive end. I don't know about that. Who the QB is available? Garrett Nussmeier. He might be too rich. Yeah. They'll probably wait till round 2 or 3. So they go defensive end. Francis Mauigoa to the Cardinals. They do need offensive line help for sure. Keldrick Falk, Spencer Fano, Ty Simpson, QB to the Browns. I don't know about that. David Bailey, edge rusher to the Commanders. Yeah, I can see that. They kind of gutted their defense. Peter Woods from Clemson. Caleb Downs, safety, Ohio State, goes to the Chiefs. That'd be horrible for us. Mason Thomas, defensive edge rusher to the Bengals, who are losing what's his face? Hendrickson this year. And then you have Caden Proctor, offensive tackle, Alabama, to the Dolphins. They do need offensive tackle. They have not been good on the O-line. Tua's basically done because of that. All right, let's continue to draft. Oh, it stopped it then. Okay. Now we look at Cassius Howell, edge rusher. That's a lot of edge rushers up front. Cornerback, Jeremy McCoy to the Rams. Carnell Tate, wide receiver to the Ravens. Yeah, they do need receiver help. TJ Parker, defensive end to the Bucks. Mekhi Lemon to the Jets. Him and freaking Garrett Wilson together would be terrifying. But they need a quarterback still, so not worried. Monsoon Delane, cornerback to the Lions. Jeremiah Love, running back to the Vikings. Yeah, they do need a running back. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver, Arizona State, to the Panthers. Okay. And we're going to go all the way to our Bills pick. And we're being offered a trade. We're not doing that. And we're not doing that either. Reject all. Bye. Okay, so on the board still, Arvell Reese, linebacker, Ohio State, which is a dog, by the way. 6'4", 243 pounds. If we don't have a linebacker in free agency, this guy right here would be an absolute monster for the Buffalo Bills. No doubt about it. Let's see. I like Malachi. Okay, yeah, you already read that one. All right, so there's no more comments really going on here. Let's see. I really like Arvell Reese. Really, really like him. I really like Chris Bell too. Oh. Man, there are some dogs on the board here still. Kenyon Sadiq, tight end from Oregon. We don't need a tight end though. Caden McDonald, defensive lineman, Ohio State. Another dog. Chris Bell sticks out to me, and Arvell Reese. What do you guys say? You guys think I should go with the receiver or the linebacker? Let me see what's left at receiver. Casey Concepcion, Elijah Surratt, who I like, but he's too slow. Jermaine Bernard, Antonio Williams, Jacoby Lane, Malachi Fields. Malachi Fields, I really like him. Outside X receiver. All right, well, because we have not seen free agency yet, I am going to take the best player available at a position of need. Arvell Reese. Boom, you are a Buffalo Bill. Let's go. Let's go. And of course, Bell is gone, but that's fine because I got my second choice, which is Malachi Fields. 6'4", 218, big boy receiver like I wanted. Outside X receiver. Looks to run a 4.25. He did go to the Senior Bowl. Looked pretty good there. Got great hands. So this will be who I'm drafting, Malachi Fields. So I've seen Jacoby Lane before. Jacoby Lane, outside X receiver, but he doesn't have the weight behind him, right? Doesn't have enough ass, so to speak. Antonio Williams from Clemson does intrigue me, but he's only 5'11", 190, and he's a slot guy. We have Khalil Shakir, and we have potentially a big slot in Keon Coleman, which he may see that more. So Malachi Fields is the obvious choice. Let me look at the whole board and see who else is there. Kamari Ramsey, safety out of USC, is there. Sticks out like a sore thumb to me. But we don't pick again until 91. And I believe that wide receiver is the more pressing need. Excuse me. So, Malachi Fields, welcome to the Bills. Let's see. All right, we are almost to our pick. No. I'm not expecting anything from next year. Nope. Thanks, but no thanks. That messes up my mojo. See, so safety, AJ Halsey, LSU. Let's check his profile. I think I know we looked at it already. Zone slot. No. See, center. We might need a center. We might not. I don't know what they think of Cedric Van Pran Granger. I do not see it as a need. But I do see defensive back as a need. Safety specifically. And Bishop Fitzgerald. Man slot, no. Jalen Kilgore, South Carolina. I do like him. I've seen him play, being that I live here, but he's a man zone free safety. That would mean Cole Bishop goes into the box, which I think Cole Bishop can go into the box. And I think that he's a really good blitzer. So this guy could work. Our next pick is at 126. So Kilgore's probably not there. I mean, there's a lot of other guys who are still here at this spot. Could also use an edge guy. That'd be overdrafting any of these guys here. Also, we could use a defensive lineman, Caden Curry. I like him out of Ohio State. Ohio State, they just produce beasts on the defensive side of the ball. 6'3", 260 though, so he's undersized for us. Edge rusher. Let's see, defensive tackle, Texas Tech, Gil Howard. Texas Tech was really good this year. They were really good this year. 6'1", 290, so he'd be more of a 5 tech in the 3-4. Not a lot of production out of this kid. Man. Rock and a hard place. Nickel safety. So he'd be in the box more. The talent level is just way too high to pass up here. I think I'm going to take him. AJ Halsey, LSU. Boom. You're a Buffalo Bill. Man, there's a lot of live viewers on X. Holy crap. Let's see. 126 is our next pick. So the Bills do need a backup quarterback. Could draft a Trinidad Chambliss to coach up and use potentially as a trade target later. Also could use some help at corner since, Tre'Davious White is no longer under contract. Let me see. If I go to Spot Track here, NFL, Buffalo Bills. Position. Corners on the team: Taron Johnson, Christian Benford, Max Harrison, Jordan Hancock, Dorian Strong, Corey Couch, MJ Devonshire. There's a lot to be desired there. Bills could go 4th round corner. They could go quarterback to be the backup. I do like Trinidad Chambliss, and he does fit the Josh Allen mold. 6'1", 200 pounds, not the height and weight mold for sure, but the talent style play. He does fit that, but man, mobile pocket passer. Hezekiah Masses from California. Outside zone corner, which is exactly what we need. We wouldn't need this so much if freaking Dorian Strong hadn't gotten hurt. And I really hope his health recovers. I'm going to take the corner maybe. There's another safety here. What safeties are on our roster right now? Taylor Rabb, Cole Bishop, Wande Owens, and Darryl Porter. Yep, we can use we can use more than one safety in this draft. See, my dog Izzy. I live in Mobile, Alabama, Senior Bowl. Let's go. See, if you tell me we're getting Eric Singleton in free agency, I'm going Concepcion or Fields. If not, Reese makes the most sense. Need to get Leonard his QB. Reese. So I did take Arvell Reese in the 1st round. because he was just the best player available, and I saw receivers I could get, and I did take Malachi Fields in the second round, and then AJ Halsey, safety, in round 3. Now we're in round 4, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing some good players here. C.J. Daniels, wide receiver, Miami. I remember seeing him, another outside receiver. Looks like he's going to run a 4.44, 6'2", 205, so fits the height, weight, size. If we drafted Fields and then we picked up Brandon Cooks again or another receiver in free agency, I'd be comfortable with our wide receiver room. But more bodies, always better. Eric Rivers from Georgia Tech, 5'11", 180, outside X receiver. Let's see. I'm going to go with the cornerback. Hezekiah Messes out of California. Boom. Corner. Ooh, Drew Aller. He might be the... Nope. He's gone. Damani Jackson, corner from Alabama. He's gone too. That's cool. Just drafted a corner. Let's see. We're on the board now. Let's go. This is our 5th round pick. Jermaine Matthews, cornerback, Ohio State. I could take 2 corners in this draft. Outside zone corner, 4.38 speed. Numbers: 2 interceptions, 28 interception yards, passes defended 2, 26 tackles. That might explain why he's so far down the board. But we're in this round, so it is what it is. We could also use more safety help. So Xavier Nwangpa, can't say his name, but actually Nwangpa, I think that's right. I gotta find out where that name's from. 1 interception, 28. He is a zone slot nickel safety, 4.39 speed. Man. He's 22 years old. Okay. Taylor Green, quarterback from Arkansas. 6'6", 229. That's the Josh Allen mold right there. QB rating 92.8, 2,714 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Dual threat QB. It's round 5. I think it's the perfect place to take a backup quarterback for Josh Allen, like we did Jake Fromm a few years back. That didn't work out, obviously, but boom. Taking a QB. An SEC QB. Just off pure numbers. I already drafted one. I picked up Hezekiah Massis, cornerback from California. Izzy, we got to see the scheme our defense is going to be. It's going to be a 3-4 multi-role 3-4 scheme. That's what Jim Leonard runs. He ran that as a Bill when he was the safety under Rex Ryan, and he learned under Rex Ryan, and then he took that same scheme and went to Wisconsin with it, and 5 out of 6 years dogged the Big Ten with that scheme. All right, now we are in round 7. So these are do what you want to with them picks. Hakeem Williams, I've heard this name before. Oh, Colorado. Okay, that's probably why, because he's with Coach Prime. 6'2", 220, outside X receiver, 4.32 speed, and we're probably gonna need more than one receiver in this draft class. So, taking a second shot at receiver. Hakeem Williams, boom. Give Josh Allen a threat deep down the field. Hell yeah. And our last pick of the draft. We could use another safety. We could use another corner. Safety. Zone slot, nickel safety. Jacoby Johnson from Oklahoma. Looks like his pass game coordinator is going to be here in Buffalo. Outside zone corner, 4.52 speed. Man. Let's see. Let's see. We also will need an interior lineman. Let me see. And the Bills, for some reason, the Bills love to draft offensive linemen later in the draft. Just off your numbers, going to need a CB. Yep. Let's see. Roderick Kearney from Florida, right guard. And game performance weighted rating. Run blocking is good. Pass blocking, not so great. Can he be coached? That's the question. Offensive tackle. Well, we've got tackles, so I'm good there. Ethan O'Connor. Outside zone corner, 4.5 speed. University of Miami. Looks like he's more of a reserve player. Passer rating or QB rating allowed when targeted, 72.5. Sign me the hell up. That's my guy. That's the Bills' last pick right there. Got 2 corners in this draft class. Got 2 receivers. Got a safety. Got a linebacker. And got a backup quarterback. Let's go. Okay, I see what you're saying. I've been a fan for 40 plus years, and I'm from Alabama. I get it, man. I get that 100%. You know, the Buffalo Bills are a team that, generally speaking, doesn't do a lot of changing when it comes to schematics like that. But here recently, with the head coaches, we've gone from one to the next. We've been mostly a 4-3, but we have also ran 3-4 quite a bit. Let's see, media, my side's back on, and boom, move me back over. All right. Well, guys, it's been fun. I'll put my little QR code back up. You guys can check out the Buffalo Bills Built in Buffalo fan store. We sell sweaters and shirts and all kind of stuff there. You know, check it out with that nice, beautiful Built in Buffalo logo. And yeah, did it at the beginning, not the end. As always, love all you guys for being here with me. Do good, be good, God bless, and go Bills.